Super Talk 99.7 WTN breaking news continues. A shooting at the Covenant School in Green Hills. 7 dead, including the shooter. 6 victims in this case. 3 tragically, well, they're all tragic, do not get me wrong, but 3 are confirmed to be students in the school. It's 1:39 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Matt Murphy. Pamela Furr, Dan Mandis, Brian Wilson, Mac Morey, and many, many more are on top of this story on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We are told that President Joe Biden is set to speak on this tragedy coming up in the next 10 or 15 minutes. We will cover that for you live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We are also told by the Metro Nashville Police Department there is soon to be an update by the MNPD. That is expected in the next 8 or so minutes, and we will cover that for you live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Currently, all we know are that 7 are dead, 6 are victims, 1 is the shooter. The shooter was taken out by the Metro Nashville Police Department that responded to a call of an active shooting on the campus of the Covenant School. The individual that has confirmed to be the shooter and is deceased was a 28-year-old female and believed to be a Nashville resident. Police departments have executed a search of her residence. They have also executed a search of her vehicle, being careful to make sure that there are no bombs placed inside of the vehicle. You have to cover all the contingencies and possibilities in a situation like this. We also have it confirmed, Brian Wilson, utilizing his sources, that there were 2 long guns and 1 short gun involved in this shooting, and 2 of those long guns are believed to be AR-15 style guns. I believe, Kathy, you mentioned that you see where there was a .223 round, and that would indicate an AR-15 style. There are many different brands of the AR-15, but that would indicate to you that that's what we're talking about, correct? Or do I have Kathy there?
Yep, I'm here. I'm sorry.
No, I was just, if we boil it down to AR-15, that's kind of a catch-all. There's a lot of different brands
Sure.
that involve that style, but that would be like a .223 or a 5.56 round, correct?
Absolutely, and that is a very lethal ammunition for those type guns. It's absolutely lethal. So it lends me to believe that she obviously knew what she was going to be doing. But, back to the school, how well prepared that school was as far as the equipment that they had. That's where the funding needs to be going. And, we're not seeing funding going into the education and specifically public schools, because when I used to do threat assessments in schools, we used to talk about how we need to model them after schools in Israel. Israel has lockdown procedures and equipment that there's no way someone could get from classroom to classroom. So, that's something else we need to think about. But, going back to what Biden's probably going to say, again, it's gun violence. We never talk about just violence. We don't ever talk about, it always has to have something before that, gun, knife, car, whatever. But we don't seem to address the violence. And I think this is a classic example of not being really prepared. We're thinking it's, in our own backyard. We're not on a day like today. We never would have expected, especially a private school. This girl had a mission. And I will be very, I'm still working on some information as far as, possible motives and connections to things. And it'll be interesting to see if my ideas play out. Was she connected to any groups that we are, currently watching? And, there's a lot of people out there that are looking to do harm to Americans right now. And this is just tragic. It's really, really tragic. And my heart goes out to certainly all the people that are involved, to the victims' families and friends, and certainly any school officials.
Well, obviously, we will lean on you and your level of expertise when it comes to these matters. And I hesitate to enter some speculative arenas, but I'm seeing a lot of speculation online, and it's the nature of the world we live in right now, Kathy, that you don't.
Sure.
It's difficult to separate truth from fiction. Some are already suggesting that perhaps this was not the individual's first target. We don't know that that's the case, and I know how these things start to grow on the internet and take on a life of their own. I would caution people just to be patient, and a lot of these jigsaw pieces will be filled in, and we'll get the complete mosaic of exactly what happened.
Yeah, and as soon as I start, hearing from my sources as to some information, I certainly will will chime in or, let what I'm hearing too. Speculation can be a very dangerous thing. It can cause problems. We all know that it can cause more problems. So we have to really be careful and be responsible about it. But, something like this is so out of the ordinary. When I heard female, I was kind of shocked. I have never dealt with a female killer in that respect. I've had women murder other people, but not to the extent, not for something like an active shooter. There's a special mindset that goes along with that. It's just a very dangerous.
I know, Kathy, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know that Brian tried to do a dive into historically.
The president is about.
Oh, pardon me, Kathy. Let's continue the conversation. We're going to begin by listening to Joe Biden. Go ahead.
I had two brothers, three in our family, three brothers and one sister. My sister is smarter than all of us. Not a joke. She used to be 3 years younger than me. Now she's 23 years younger than me. Yeah. She managed every one of my campaigns for office, even back when I was in high school. We went to the same university 2 years apart. She graduated with honors. I graduated. And we had a simple rule in the family. Listen to Val. My sister Valerie is incredible. So guys, be nice to your sister. You're going to need her. You're going to need her. I promise. It's the same line.
Feel the love, and that's what we're about here.
Apparently, we're going away from that because Joe Biden has apparently not been told or has decided not to make mention of the tragedy that's unfolding in our backyard in Nashville, Tennessee. So we anticipated going to that, and I asked Mac to alert me as soon as we saw the president on the screen. We were told the president was not only going to give some public remarks. Obviously, he's slated to give public remarks about other things. We were told that the president of the United no, they've gone away from it. I tried our partners at Channel 4, and is he back? Is he speaking on it? Bring him back up.
It's just, it's sick. We're still gathering the facts of what happened and why. And we do know that as of now, there are a number of people who did not make it, including children. And it's heartbreaking, a family's worst nightmare. And I want to commend the police who responded incredibly swiftly, within minutes, to end the danger. We're monitoring the situation really closely, Ben, as you know. And we have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of the nation. And we have to do more to protect our schools so they aren't turned into prisons. The shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban. It's about time that we
please don't listen to the president. There's no information that they were AK-47s.
But I just want
to. No, keep him up. I'm not telling you.
Concern
trying to correct
out
him.
To so many parents out there. I've been to so many of these sites, as Ben knows, by virtually every one. And one of the things you folks should, I know you do know, but you should focus on. Just like when in the military, my son was in Iraq for a year, other places, there's so many members of the military coming back with post-traumatic stress after witnessing the violence and participating in it. Well, these children, these teachers, they should be focusing on their mental health as well. And so I'm grateful. Anyway, sorry to start off that way, but I couldn't begin without acknowledging what happened.
All right, there's the President of the United States offering his acknowledgement of the situation in Nashville at the Covenant School on Hillsborough Pike. If the White House has anything else to say, we will cover it for you live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Allow me to correct the President of the United States. Although most of you understand there should be no need for correction, there's zero indication that the weapon used was an AK-47, which is what the president said. There is an indication that these were long guns, what are commonly referred to as AR-15s, 223s, or 5.56s are the most common brands of said or types of said same. Many different brands on the market. These are typical long guns. that most of us have in our homes and none of us use for evil, along the lines of what we saw take place this morning at 10:13. So we reset here. There's expected to be another press conference by the Metro Nashville Police Department and department officials coming up in the next few moments. Right now, I'll tell you what, let's hear from Don Aaron, who spoke earlier today about the information that we had. Now, this is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half ago. He stepped to the microphone and gave what information they had at the time. This is spokesperson Don Aaron from the MNPD.
They heard shots coming from the second level. They immediately went to the gunfire. When the officers got to the second level, they saw. Do I
have him live here? Hold on just a second. I think he's just appeared live on my screen. So yes. Let's jump on this.
Drake.
This is Chief Drake of the Metro Nashville Police
Department. First and foremost, I want to say thank you all for being here on this very unfortunate situation. My heart and prayers go out to the families of the 6 people who were tragically injured. What I know at this point is at 10:13 today, officers responded to a shots fired call to Covenant School. It's a church school. Officers immediately responded. A team of 5 immediately went in the school, went to where gunshots were being heard, and engaged the suspect. We have identified the suspect right now, tentatively a 28-year-old female white. We know the address of that person as well, and so we have some ongoing investigations as to that. We have 3 adult victims, and we have 3 children who have been identified, and their families have been contacted. Right now, I will refrain from saying the ages, other than to say I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building. I want to say thanks to all of our partners, to the FBI, to the ADF, and other federal partners, to the THP, Tennessee Highway Patrol, the TBI, the district attorney, and to the fire department, who all came together and seamlessly addressed this situation as quickly as possible. I've already gotten requests from the national media about a great response. We're still assessing that as well. But what I can say, and what I've said before, is that whenever I hope that we would never have this situation, that if we ever did, we would not wait. We would immediately go in and we would immediately engage the person perpetrating this horrible crime. And so that's all I can say. Right now we have David Rouse, director of the TBI, who will come after me to address his portion. And then we have others that will say something as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Again, I want to echo what Chief has said in reference to the great support and the great teamwork that has been taking place here, and as well as sending our heartfelt prayers to the families, to this community of these victims. Now, I know there'll be people who want to criticize us for prayers, but that's the way we do that in the South, right? We believe in prayer, and we believe in the power of prayer, and so our prayers go out to these families. The role of the TBI in this investigation is we have been asked by General Funk to assist in the officer-involved portion of this incident. So the incident where the officers engaged the suspect, we are assisting the Metro investigation. And the reason we've got Metro doing the primary investigation is because it was a fluid scene. So there wasn't a single stop in the action. And so as they investigate the homicides, then we felt it was most appropriate for them to continue that investigation. But we will assist as in our role as an independent oversight on the officer-involved situation. And so that will be the role of TBI. We, too, want to thank all of our partners it is special. We've had this conversation, unfortunately, too many times in Tennessee, and that is that you wish you wouldn't have to do these types of scenes, but when you do, you want to have the working relationships that we have in our law enforcement community here in Tennessee. It is amazing, and we've all come together as one and working very tirelessly, and we'll continue to work together to address this situation. It's a horrible, senseless tragedy, and we will be here working with our partners to get through it. And next, I'd like to introduce the District Attorney General for this area, Glenn Funk.
This is the ultimate crime when school children and caregivers are the victims of senseless gun violence. Can't say anything before we first express our concerns for the victims and their families and the extended number of victims that are traumatized by today's events. I came out on the scene today because our current operating procedure is that when an officer is involved in a shooting, the TBI comes out, and I knew that this was a unique case, and I wanted to make sure that everything was handled appropriately. Director Roush was out here almost at the exact same time I got here, and Chief Drake had already been on the scene for a while. The three of us met and talked about how the investigation was going to be handled. We made a joint decision affirming what the two law enforcement leaders, how they wanted to proceed, which was that Metro was going to handle the bulk of this, but the TBI would participate in a capacity to continue with making sure that we have transparency and everything, and to make sure that any backup that MNPD needs in this continued investigation would be provided. Can't not stress enough how seamlessly that worked to have a conversation and a decision to be made quickly and appropriately as far as how the case was going to be handled from here. Hats off to Chief Drake and to Director Roush. I also want to thank Chief Swan and our federal partners as well. While I cannot comment about the ongoing nature of the investigation, really impressed with the work that's being done by law enforcement.
Yes, good afternoon. First, let me just say, as everyone else, what a tragic day here in Nashville. So our hearts and our prayers do go out to all the family members and also the first responders that actually made this call. As always, the fire department and Office of Emergency Management, our job is to support, and we were here at the beginning and we'll be here to the end. We just ask that everyone, again, as it was said earlier about prayer, we ask for that. And the ongoing support that's needed from our standpoint is to give support in any area that's asked for on the scene. So again, we thank you, and from this point forward, we'll just continue on with our mission and try to bring some type of closure and resolution. Thank you.
I anticipate there will be another briefing at or before 4 o'clock. We will entertain 2 or 3 questions at this moment before these gentlemen have to go back to the scene to continue their work.
Chief, you identified, did you identify the shooter in this case yet?
Yes, we have identified the suspect. It's a 28-year-old female white, actually a Nashvilleian or lives in the Nashville area. We are having ongoing investigation as it pertains to her at this time.
Located her place of, where she lived? You have officers there?
We have.
Was she wearing body armor?
Was she wearing body armor? I can't say that far into the investigation. I don't remember seeing it, but I can't say for certain if she had body armor on or not.
Does she have any connection to the church?
From my initial findings is that at one point she was a student at that school, but unsure what year, all of that. But that's what I've been told so far.
Did she give any word on social media, or has her social media been examined at this point?
The investigations are still going at this point. Our federal partners, our state partners, we're all looking into that to see exactly. This is still fluid at the time, but we're looking at everything.
Did anybody pull the fire alarm? Do we know?
Don't remember a fire alarm going off. I was told there were kids that evacuated into a wood line. They had the presence of mind to do that and to go to a fire hall. Once we arrived on scene, we had everyone moved to First Baptist Church, Woodmont, and that way we could get parents and children reunited, and then ultimately make the notification on the 3 kids. So.
Do we know yet if the side door she entered in was locked or not?
There was a door that was entered. All doors were locked to our understanding, and how exactly she got in at this point is still under investigation. There is a vehicle that was nearby that gave us clues as into who she was, and but as stated, that investigation is still ongoing.
Did the school have school shooter protocol?
They did have protocol. To my understanding, we had, unfortunately, 3 kids that were tragically hurt. It could have been far, far worse.
Okay, folks, we'll be back again before 4 o'clock. Okay? Thank you.
All right, so you've just we're just finishing up a press conference engaging some of the details involving the shooter. That was Chief John Drake doing most of the speaking there. We also had David Roush with the TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, talking about their role, and District Attorney Glenn Funk was also on the scene. A couple of important pieces of information that we'll dissect when we come back. We've got a news break where Mac Morey is going to fill you in on everything we know at this point involving the shooting at the coveted school. 28-year-old female. We've not been given a name. There are some that are questioning why we don't have a name for this person as of yet. I don't know that it was asked specifically the name of the person during the press conference, but a description of the individual, do you know who this person was asked. 28-year-old female, white female, believed to be a former student at the Covenant School. A vehicle left on the scene led police to that identification, but we have no further identification of the individual as of this moment, according to the Metro Nashville Police Department. So it's 2 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Quick to the news and then back, and eventually we'll try to put all of these pieces together, but we'll update you comprehensively starting with the news, and that starts right now.
.201, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 66 degrees. You heard Matt Murphy talking about this ongoing breaking news story at the shooting at Covenant School. We just now heard from Police Chief John Drake that this was a 28-year-old white female from Nashville who was at one point a student at Covenant School. She is dead after being engaged with Nashville police just 14 minutes after the first call to officials was reported. That was at 10:13, so 10:27 was when she was shot down. She shot and killed 3 children and 3 adults before that. Those adults are being described as staff members at this school. Chief spokesman Don Aaron provided some details just a little bit ago.
They heard shots coming from the second level. They immediately went to the gunfire. When the officers got to the second level, they saw a shooter, a female, who was firing. The officers engaged her. She was fatally shot by responding police officers. There was a 5-member team who was on the second floor at that time. 2 individuals from that 5-member team opened fire on the shooter.
There's video footage at the school that's now being skimmed through to decipher exactly what transpired this morning. A reunification center was set up at 2100 Woodmont Boulevard. The parents that lost their children were notified there. A loud shrill and scream was heard at that church when a mother got the call that she would not be finding her child at that unification building. Our own Brian Wilson says that he has sources reporting that some teachers were able to save lives due to heroic acts learned in shooter training with kick plates on doors, making it extremely difficult to breach a door. An announcement was eventually made over the PA system by police to say that it was safe to leave, and students and staff were escorted out on buses. First Lady Jill Biden has commented saying, quote, "Our children deserve better." President Biden quickly commented saying, calling this act sick. And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN 212. Good afternoon. Matt Murphy in studio at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And it's not been a good day whatsoever considering the tragic events of some 4 hours ago. We're going to reset here as we've been away for a couple of minutes, give you an update on everything we know at this hour with regard to the shooting that happened in Nashville at the Covenant School just off of Hillsborough Pike at 10:13 this morning. I'm Matt Murphy in studio. Mac Morey is back behind the glass in the newsroom. Mason is capably controlling the events. We're not taking telephone calls right now, but eventually at some point we'll open up the phone lines and allow you to absorb some of the information that is coming in fast and furious. And, of course, we've had Dan Mandis, Pamela Furr, Brian Wilson all over this story on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's a story that will no doubt make international headlines as as described to us, a 28-year-old white female who is now being classified as a former student within the school, opened fire at the Covenant School this morning at 10:13. In 14 minutes, the police arrived on the scene, engaged the suspect, and neutralized the threat. Reports are that many other students could have been killed or harmed had it not been for the training at the Covenant School at the time of the incident. So, Mac, you said you have some additional pieces of information with regard to some of the parents that are attempting to be reunified. I believe Woodmont Baptist Church is where the reunification process has been staged. And tell me what you know from the newsroom.
Channel 4 has a reporter and anchor, Lydia Fielder. She's actually a babysitter for a few of these kids that attend this school. So she's got some inside info on parents at this reunification center. And that's ongoing. That's really just started right now. This is from 5 or 6 minutes ago on Channel 4. That only 9 parents at most have been called. They're calling 3 parents at a time to go be reunited with their children, and only 1 parent is allowed to go. So if there's 2 parents or a grandma and a father, whatever the situation may be, they have to decide which parent is going to go be reunified with their child. And they're also telling these parents and obviously these children to stay away from the news. In fact, a lot of the news outlets know more right now than the parents who are at 2100 Woodmont Boulevard, the Reunification Center. So 3 parents at a time. Right now, only 9 have been called as our latest information, and they are being. And right now, I hear the kids at this Reunification Center are actually in good spirits. The Red Cross is there handing out candy, playing games, and they're just trying to keep these children happy and make sure they don't know what's going on.
Well, let's hope that the vast majority of those young children were completely unaware as to why they were being whisked away from the Covenant School. And that is your hope and prayer, that most of those kids had no idea. Now, obviously, Chief Drake, John Drake, at his press conference moments ago confirmed that some students ran toward a wood line on the property of the school in an effort to get away from the shooting. One, that is a wonderful thing that the young people had the wherewithal and the training by adults to do that. Secondarily, we know that they're going to be traumatized by that experience. So they set them aside for a moment. Your hope is that these children were unaware of the nature of what was going on and what they were hearing around them as they were being taken away from the school system. I'm just, I understand the process has to be a slow and deliberate one. I'm frankly a little bit surprised that at 2:15 in the afternoon, Mac, that we don't have more reunifications happening. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're getting the right people with the right kids. There's a lot of chaos going on, and you don't want to compound a tragedy with further confusion. I mean, the last thing you want is for a parent to go and try to find their child, and they can't. And obviously, these parents are thinking the worst at the time that they're heading to the school. Now, Chief Drake did indicate that if you're with – one of the things that we try to do, and just to back up a moment and to peek behind the curtain, we want to get as much good, solid information about what we know to the public as quickly as we possibly can. At the same time, there is an abundance, and I'm looking at it. There is an incredible amount of speculation. Unfortunately, the nature of the world that we live in, the immediacy of the breaking news that we have at our fingertips dictates that individuals get in there and infiltrate good breaking news with misinformation. We're trying to disseminate what is real and what is not real in real time as we're trying to give you the latest breaking information on this. Add to that the fact, and I'm not immune from it, and I get choked up thinking about it, I do, that there could be parents of kids at Covenant listening to us right now. And having yet been reunified with their children. And God bless you if that is you. But we are told by Chief Drake that those parents who lost youngsters have been notified that they have identified the children. At least if unless I misheard Chief Drake, I believe that's what he said, that the three children who lost their lives, their parents have been notified.
Yes, sir.
I think that's correct. So,
yes, sir.
So hopefully the reunification process will continue. Just please, I was down there earlier today in my capacity on this radio station, and I was trying to get as close as possible and got down to Hobbs Road, which is a cross street to Hillsborough Pike and is probably a quarter mile away or a little more. I was actually a little south of Hobbs Road. It was about a quarter of a mile away from the Covenant School, and that's where the barricades went up. They went up on Harding Place, and they went up just south of Hobbs Road. At that point, no one in and no one out. They were trying to ascertain the situation. In the meantime, they were literally busing students in front of me up to the Woodmont Baptist Church, getting them, close enough where parents can get there, far enough away where they're away from any danger and away from the circumstances surrounding the tragedy. So here's what we know. And there is a little bit of void of information, and I'm going to decline any and all opportunities to speculate as to what we don't know. I think we can tell you what we don't know without speculating as to what that missing piece might be. We do not have a name for the suspect. I don't know that I would use the name anyway, but that would give us an opportunity to try to figure out motivation. Now, meantime, the Metro Nashville Police Department, they're trying to figure out motivation. They want to know why in the world someone would do something so heinous and evil. We have been told by Chief Drake the information he has is that the individual, the 28-year-old individual, is a former student at the school. That person was described by Chief Drake as a 28-year-old female, white. That's the way he said it. That has led to several of you listening, and I understand I was a little confused because of the way he said it.
Yeah.
He did not say female-like, which is what some – and I think two things are going on here, Mac. I think it is such a rarity that a female would engage in this type of evil event. It is almost exclusively the domain of the male of the species that people are confused. And they heard female like, and now they're trying to put two and two together and speculate on those lines. We're not going to do that. Female white is what he said, and that's what you heard that he said.
Yeah, said it that way twice. Female, white. Said it that way at the beginning and the end of that press conference.
Okay, so that's all we have right now. Yep. That's all I can tell you is that it's a white female. That's the way that they're describing it, 28 years of age, who is believed to be a former student at that school. Also, some other information just gleaned from the press conference that ended about 10 or 15 minutes ago. We are told that all the doors at the school were locked, and that was standard operating procedure, and that she brought her vehicle to the scene of the crime and left the vehicle there, obviously. They do not know at this juncture how she accessed one of the exterior doors to the Covenant School. There had been an earlier report, and I did not report on any of the specifics on this because it was unconfirmed, that there might have been another target involved, but it is believed, based on her background at the Covenant School, that this was the target and only target of the vicious, tragic attack on those school children and those staff members. All the doors were locked, vehicles still at the school. I am told, and I've not had direct communication with Brink Fiddler of Defense Systems, and you hear me in our advertising portion of the day talk about Brink all the time, and that's not what I'm doing here. But I will say this. We've gone through the training at Cumulus Nashville, and I've often told you that you never know when you'll have to utilize this training. I'm also told, not by Brink, but I'm told that Brink Fiddler trained at this school, the Covenant School, in what to do in the event of an active shooter situation. You do not have to have an SRO. You do not have to have armed people on property in order to do things the right way to protect yourself and to minimize the threat of danger and to minimize the actual killing of human beings. And we are told in the very early stages of this investigation that some of the doorstops that were on property and some of the actions based on what we're hearing from the staff on property saved many, many lives. This individual, this 28-year-old, was armed in such a way that there was intent to take massive casualties. And every life is precious. And obviously, your heart mourns and your prayers go out to those who did lose their lives. But we also recognize, based on the training that the Covenant School obviously had received, and based on the swift and definitive and decisive actions on the part of the Metro Nashville Police Department, lives were saved today. That is of little solace to those who have lost them. That is of little solace to parents who are grieving a child. But it is a sad solace nonetheless. All right, I'm going to try to get us back on schedule, Mason. So at 2:23, we'll take a short time out, and we'll continue to update you on this very tragic situation. A 28-year-old Nashville woman suspected of killing 6 at the Covenant School. We'll be back in just a moment.
Keeping up with the latest news that comes out here of Covenant School after a shooting this morning. 6 victims dead, and the shooter also dead. 7 total. We keep you updated with police response time, Reunification Center, and, of course, the shooter herself. That and more.
Yeah, it's a tragic day. It's a tough day here in our community. We know that our neighbors are suffering. If you do not know anyone individually at the Covenant School or associated with the Covenant School, you probably know someone that knows someone that knows someone, and you certainly know where the area is, and you understand that the tragedy has hit home locally, and we'll continue to cover it all afternoon long, obviously, through the Matt Murphy Show, through the Drive with Brian Wilson, team approach when it comes to these types of things. And thank you so much to Pamela and Dan. I mean, to everybody. I mean, obviously, it's not about us. It's about the community in which we serve, and we want to be here for you in the good times, obviously, but in times of tragedy, when you need valuable information, we try to be here for you. As that information comes in, we'll make it available to you. As Mac was relating to you a little bit earlier, the reunification process is still ongoing. And I was unaware of this when I was on Hillsborough Pike in front of the Woodmont School. It looked like I saw parents with kids outside of the school. And I thought that was an indicator that they were well on their way to the reunification. Obviously, you get your kids to a school, a Christian school like Covenant, off to work you go. You're not expected to go pick them up until later on in the day. So even getting to the parents themselves via text, via telephone call, I mean, obviously, can you imagine you want it to be an in-person communication so that you can, and you want to make sure that you're talking to somebody whose child was either unaware of the circumstances or maybe they were aware of the circumstances. You want to give the totality of the circumstances to the parent at the time that you talk to them and get them back together with their child as swiftly as possible and as safely as possible. So that is ongoing in the Hillsborough Pike area at Woodmont Baptist Church. So we're covering that. What do we know? We know that 6 people are dead. A 7th, the suspect, is dead as well. So that's 7 total, 6 victims in this case. 3 adult staffers, as they are being described, and 3 children. Chief John Drake spoke about 30 or 40 minutes ago and declined. He does know the ages of the children. Obviously, they know who these children are, but he declined to give those ages at this early stage in the investigation. They've also, and much to the frustration of some, they have declined to give the name of the suspect thus far. I'm getting a lot of names via... I'm not saying that the people that are offering these names are untrustworthy, but I'm telling you that you need to verify if we were to give the name at all. But I'm getting a lot of speculation as to the nature of the shooting and the motivations behind the shooting. All of that will obviously come out as the investigation goes on. So we do know that there is another press conference set to be held at or before 4 p.m. this afternoon. Clearly, we will cover that for you live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The President of the United States, sadly, we covered this live, and I say sadly only because of what occurred. I'm not going to re-rack it. I'm not going to re-air it. I'm just going to tell you I am as shocked as you are and as aware as you are. We were given notice about 10 minutes before the President gave remarks. And I understand that we are more sensitive to this because it's happening right here in our community. But we were told that the President would be giving remarks, and that included in those remarks, this is a pre-planned event that he was having at the White House, that included in those remarks were comments about the Nashville shooting. Mac, you got the same thing from the newsroom, right? You got the alert, hey, President's coming up.
Yep.
He's going to speak on this.
Going to make a statement. He's been made aware, and yeah. And his wife had already made a public statement. I thought that would be the beginning of the presser, yeah.
We all did. So Jill Biden makes a comment. Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, makes a comment during her daily briefing. The President goes before the microphone, and I'm telling you, every monitor in my studio switched to the President. We went live to the President of the United States, as did every other camera in America, it seemed. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all the local networks went to the President. And the president spent about 3 minutes yucking it up. Laughing, making canned, crappy jokes that he's been making for the past 25 years. I'm not attempting to over-politicize this other than saying I'm sorry. That's it. That's all I'm going to say today. I might say more tomorrow, but I will say today, I am sincerely sorry that we went live to the President of the United States in the aftermath of the tragedy that we've been covering for you all day, expecting that the President would offer somber remarks relating to what happened, and instead we got jokes. It's 2:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Now 2:33, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Weather forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Right now, 68 degrees. If you're just now joining us, 7 total dead at Covenant School, a shooting that happened this morning. That's off of Hillsborough Pike, a school that teaches pre-K through 6th grade, 3 children, 3 adults, and that 28-year-old female shooter who was shot down by police just 14 minutes after the first call at 10:13 a.m. to officials. Here's Chief of Police John Drake.
A team of 5 immediately went in the school, went to where gunshots were being heard, and engaged the suspect. We have identified the suspect right now, tentatively a 28-year-old female white. We know the address of that person as well, and so we have some ongoing investigations as to that.
Chief Drake says this shooter is believed to be a former student at the school. All the doors at the school were locked, according to Chief John Drake. We don't know how this female shooter made it in through a side door. The vehicle the woman drove to the school was recovered near the scene and used to identify the woman. And now they are going, as you heard Chief John Drake say, trying to get search warrants issued to go search her house and gather more evidence and maybe even a motive to this terrible act. That reunification center at 2100 Woodmont Boulevard is still active and taking quite a long time. It's a long process. They're calling 3 adults at a time to go downstairs to be reunited with their children. As of about 30 minutes ago, it was reported that only 9 parents had been called. Only 1 parent is allowed to go retrieve their child at a time. The kids are said to be in good spirits. They are Red Cross at the scene at the reunification center with candy, games, trying to keep these children's spirits as high as they can. Chris Davis from Channel 5 tweeted, quote, a heartbreaking scene at Vanderbilt Children's Medical Center where someone who may be a loved one of a victim is violently sobbing out in front of the ER, end quote. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Supertalk 99.7 WTN continued coverage of the tragic shooting at the Covenant School earlier this morning at 10:13. An assailant, 28-year-old female, that is the manner in which she's being described, a white female, entered the school property of the Covenant School, parked her vehicle, entered the school through a door. We do not know if the door was locked or unlocked, or if she gained entry in some fashion at the time and at the point that she approached the door. We do know that it was standard operating procedure, it was protocol, that all of those doors, as you might expect, remain locked. So at 2:40, I should say, here's an update. We have 6 individuals dead, 3 staff members, 3 children. The assailant is dead as well. Police responded to an active shooter situation at 10:13. That was the first call that came in. By 10:27, police report that the threat had been neutralized. They entered through the first floor area of the school. They did not see or engage in the assailant in that area. They did hear shots fired on the second floor. At that time, they rushed to the second floor, engaged the suspect, and shot and killed the individual on the scene in a lobby-type area as it was being described. The individual, we do not have any information beyond that it is a 28-year-old white female. The President of the United States has spoken on this after spending 3 or 4 minutes doing his normal shuck and jive routine in the White House in the East Room at a prearranged event. Joe Biden was made aware of the tragedy that was unfolding in Nashville. His wife, Dr. Jill Biden, spoke on it. His press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, spoke on it. At least 30 minutes went by in the aftermath of, between the time that Karine Jean-Pierre spoke about doing something about assault weapons. That's what she said, and between the time that Joe Biden spoke. And then Joe Biden eventually said a few words about it, but it was only after these odd, prearranged jokes that just came off as awkward and shameful. And I know that many of you are reacting to that on the super text line. I'm looking at some of the super text line comments, and I believe in honoring the memory of the staff members and the memory of the young people that lost their lives, to do my dead level best not to dive off into a pool that I could spend the next 3 hours on. The political Democrats in the United States, the political party that we call the Democrat Party in the United States of America, knows no shame when it comes to these types of things, and they see no amount of time need expire or to go forward before they are going to attempt to exploit them. I've seen it over and over again. They actually chide. You heard it from the press conference today. How dare you godless liberals who chide me for offering prayers to individuals who are suffering today. I'm not going to have it, and I'm not going to apologize for it. We had one of our individuals at the press conference apologizing for saying prayers. Said, hey, I know that there's some people that will complain about that, but this is the way we do things in the South. There's nothing wrong with the way that we do things in the United States of America. There's nothing wrong with believing in the Second Amendment. There's nothing wrong with believing that it can be used to protect ourselves from tragedies such as this. And yes, there is nothing wrong with saying a prayer to individuals who are in need, if you are of a praying sort. If you are heartbroken, get on your knees. It will help your heart. But you have to believe in order to understand that. And yes, there are some within local media, like, well, they'll go unnamed. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to focus on the individuals and what we know and continue to do it that way. 28-year-old Nashville woman accused and suspected of these horrific crimes. Now, I have confirmed it, and I believe that Pamela Furr did this earlier today when she was on from 9 until noon as this story was breaking, and I know Dan Mandis and Brian and all were an incredible part of that. Brink Fiddler is with Defense Systems. He was with the Metro Nashville Police Department for 18 years. He has so many friends. I mean, literally, Brink knows some of the individuals that breached that situation in order to neutralize the threat. And I indicated to Brink that he was welcome to come on anytime that he had a moment. And he, as I believe Pamela mentioned, said that he was in Memphis doing an assessment at a school. He then said, Covenant is my client. We trained them last year. And my response to Brink was, you saved lives today then. And his response was that he knows the family of one of the victims. And it just tears my heart up. Absolutely tears my heart up. I won't say any more about that, except to say that you don't have to go very far to find someone, to know someone that is going to be intimately and directly touched by the tragedy that's happened right here. And if we do not get a handle on mental health in the United States of America, no amount of caterwauling about the Second Amendment or gun rights is going to matter. Jill Biden has tweeted out that we stand, all of us, with Nashville. Well, ma'am, if you stand with Nashville, if you stand with Tennessee, then I beg of you to convince your husband and his administration and his political party to refrain from politicizing something that need not be politicized until such time as we figure out the motivations of what happened, what the hell caused it, what mental duress was going on in this person's life, and to try to figure out exactly what could have been done to create a dynamic by which they sought help as opposed to sought a gun. If you can't figure out why people seek a gun to do damage to other individuals based on their mental state, then no amount of chasing the weapon of their choosing is going to change the nature of their mindset, obviously. I mean, listen, just several moments ago, this is what I'm talking about. I believe this was David Roush, who is the director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Listen to what he had to say.
David Roush, director of the TBI, who will come out to me to address his portion. And then we have others that will say something as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Again, I want to echo what Chief has said in reference to the great support and the great teamwork that has been taking place here, and as well as sending our heartfelt prayers to the families, to this community of these victims. Now, I know there'll be people who want to criticize us for prayers, but that's the way we do that in the South, right? We believe in prayer, and we believe in the power of prayer. And so our prayers go out to these families.
So there's and I don't fault him, by the way, for noting the reality of the world right now, but it is a sad state of affairs. Now, many of you are asking me what I believe the Republicans have done to address mental health in the United States of America and to get us a better system so as to identify and to potentially involuntarily incarcerate individuals who are a threat to themselves or a threat to other people. And I will answer you directly as I possibly can. They have not done enough. They have not done enough to convince the gun grabbers on the other side that the real issue must be addressed to the mental state of mind of the individual that is prone to want to perpetuate violence against other people or themselves, and to use a gun to manifest that violence in a real way, like was happening earlier today in Nashville on Hillsborough Pike, okay? So I'm not absolving anyone of guilt. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm announcing to you that there are those less than 5 hours after this event occurred that are already politicizing it for their own agenda advantage. And they always say the same garbage. What we, those of us who truly believe that there is a mental health crisis going on in the United States of America, perhaps we, and I include myself in this, need to stop worrying about arguing about the small garbage and focus on the bigger garbage, okay? The important aspects of this, meaning we talk a good game about mental health as well, but when the rubber meets the road, we don't recognize that we need to bring back certain levels of involuntarily incarcerating individuals that we find to be a danger to themselves or others, but based on their mental health. Is that not ultimately what has gotten us here? That we cannot independently identify, recognize, and move toward mental help without the say-so for the individual that actually needs it? So we live in a world now where even if there are red flags all over the place, if one has not committed violence or endangered others or themselves, as long as they say, no thanks, I don't want it, they walk away from the mental health that so many of them so desperately need. Maybe it's a subject for another day, but I'm answering the criticism. And the criticism is, well, the conservatives, the Republicans, they haven't done anything either. Well, they sure as hell haven't done enough. And if you want the strongest argument possible that it's not guns, but the mental capacity to kill that actually kills people, then it's time we double down on that conversation as well. All right, I will tell you what we know up until now, and at some point we'll hand off to Brian Wilson in the drive. It's 2:51 on Super Talk. It is 2:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, moments away from the beginning of the drive with Brian Wilson. Obviously, Brian has been on top of this story from the beginning, and he was with us early this morning and throughout the course of the afternoon, and we'll be here throughout the afternoon updating you on the very tragic nature of the circumstances surrounding the Covenant School and the shooting there at 1013 that has led to 7 dead, including the shooter. That would be 6 victims and the shooter, 3 of a young age, and 3 adult staff members. We're being told also, before I go, I'll alert you to this, that the unification process is ongoing. As we speak, we're being told that parents are in the sanctuary, children are in the basement, that youngest children and multiple children of one family are taking priority. Yeah, I mean, it's just, there are circumstances going on during the reunification process that are just tough to watch because parents are unsure if their kids are okay. They want to be with their kids right now, and the process takes longer than they believe that it should. And we beg God to offer patience and grace to those parents who are fearful of the worst, and that patience directed toward the officials that are trying to do the right thing the best way they possibly can. And we pray for the family members, obviously. We pray for our community, and we pray for our nation and the world. That winds it up for us. I'll be here. If Brian needs me, the drive with Brian Wilson starts next.
.301, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories, still covering this breaking story that happened this morning in Nashville off Hillsborough Pike and Woodmont Boulevard at Covenant School. 6 victims dead after a terrible act from a 28-year-old female shooter. A Christian school that teaches pre-K through 6th grade. The shooter is said to have been a student at this school in the past. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director David Roush spoke at the most recent press conference.
The role of the TBI in this investigation is we have been asked by General Funk to assist in the officer-involved portion of this incident. So the incident where the officers engaged the suspect, we are assisting the Metro investigation. And the reason we've got Metro doing the primary investigation is because it was a fluid scene. So there wasn't a single stop in the action. And so as they investigate the homicides, then we felt it was most appropriate for them to continue that investigation. But we will assist as in our role as an independent oversight on the officer-involved situation.
And police are at the shooter's house right now as we speak, trying to gather any more information on the shooter's motive, history, and anything else that's pertinent to this case. It's unknown currently whether or not the shooter was wearing body armor or not. She entered the school through a side door with 2 long guns and a handgun. And that reunification center for parents to re-meet their children is still open at 2100 Woodmont Boulevard. Long process right now. Only 3 adults are being called at a time. They are sent downstairs and sent to go to their child. Only 1 parent is allowed to go. The families of the victims that were shot have all been notified. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.